is advocating for a system that celebrates diversity and devolves power from the center, giving Nigerians a true voice in their governance. A fresh constitution, he says, is the key to unlocking a brighter future for the nation. And Ibrahim, there's been conversations around the fact that we have had all sorts of constitutional review, talking about be it new or reviewing the 1999 or any constitution as a country. Right from our independence, we have tried all sorts. And that the real question is the constitution really the challenge, or we the people not adhering to the spirit of the Constitution?
That's right. It has been an ongoing conversation, from time immemorial, especially since we got the 1999 Constitution. Even before then, talking about the Republican Constitution, the Macpherson Constitution, the Littleton Constitution, name it, until we have what we assume to be the one that actually reflects us. Even though there have been this argument that, if you open the beginning of the Constitution where it talks about
with the people,
of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and they say, which people? When did we sit together to
write this document? Okay. Anyway, we have joining us for this conversation, convener, Social Rehabilitation, Grace and Support Initiative, Dr. Oludare Marindoti, who joins us via Zoom from the U.S. to talk more on this. Good morning. It's good to have you join us this morning.
Thank you very much for having me, Brian. Thanks, everybody.
Now, there's been a groundswell of voices calling for either a review or an overhaul, or having a new constitution that would reflect the interests, our diversity as a people. But from your perspective, first, what is wrong with what we have now? That's the 1999 Constitution as reviewed that we are using at the moment. And is a new constitution really the solution to the myriads of challenges that we have as a country?
Thank you very much. There is virtually almost everything wrong with this particular constitution that we are currently using right now. We can say maybe the people did not come together or whatever, but one of the major problems of this particular constitution is what we are feeling in our daily lives. Inability of the people to have
unfortunately we cannot hear you.
Oh, you cannot hear me? Can you hear me now?
No, we can't.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, we can hear you now.
Oh, great. Okay. So I said, can you hear me now? So I said there's virtually everything wrong with the current constitution that we have right now, because, apart from the fact that the people do not have the power to, decide their fate, there's a lot of the effects of this faulty constitution that we are feeling in our, everyday life. And I'll just go through some of it, especially something like security right now. We have a system whereby security is exclusively in the purview of the federal government, and then the state governments are essentially, quote unquote, toothless bulldog, because they do not control the security. So we have a situation of, medical students who were kidnapped in Benue. I was once a medical student and I'm Catholic. So the conference that they were going to, that could have been me a couple years ago, and they've been kidnapped in Benue. But the Reverend Father Alia, that is the governor of Benue State, cannot really do anything about it. Whereas we have in a place like the United States, whereby it is the local governments that are in charge of the security. Local government, the police officers in each of the counties are local government employees. So they know the neck of their wood. If there is something like a kidnapping, they know who to go and call. They know where to go. We have experience that I had last year, whereby I wrote like an idea, like policy of maybe why can't the governors just invest in drones that can have powerful scanners, that because Nigeria is not a big place, that can surveil each of the states, and then they'll be able to respond rapidly to any form of incidents. And then I realized that the state governors don't have the power, after having a lot of consultations and communications with a lot of people. The state governors don't even have the powers to buy drones, to to surveil their states. So I did a calculation. A drone flying at about 1,000 kilometers above the surface with some powerful scanners and maybe angle of view of like 30 degrees can surveil the whole of Benue State within about 3 hours. And it will have the scanners that can, check out unusual movements and send people to them and security agencies. So, but the government cannot invest in this because we have a system whereby they need to go and collect authorization from the National Security Advisor, before they can do such a thing. So, if we say the government is supposed to be the chief security officer of the state, but then they don't control the police. We all saw the issue with Governor Sanwo-Olu and the police officer in Lagos like 4 years ago. So these are things that are really affecting our lives. And when you look at it, yes, the president wants to, grow the economy by two digits every year, double the GDP in about 10 years. But you cannot do this if people cannot move from point A to point B. Benue is the food basket of the nation. But that food basket is having people kidnap medical students on the road. So what do you think they are doing to farmers? So even the food security that we are trying to solve, we will not solve it unless we restructure. And this restructuring thing is one of the major reasons why I supported President Tinubu, because all his life he fought for restructuring. Some of my heroes like Obalupala, Fashionably went to see the president to beg him for this. I also saw when the Patriots for other leaders of their Fanya Anyoku, I think, went to see the president also about this restructuring, because when I was in Akure last year, I was with His Royal Majesty, and he told me when he was a young boy that they had each region had their police officers, that it was the civil war that made them even take out all those local police officers, and then they never returned them, and that was how security died in the communities. So if we want to really grow this economy, if we want to fix this country,
right,
we need a new constitution.
Of our time, Dari, you haven't addressed the second question that I asked, talking about, so are you saying that a new constitution is what will address the myriad of issues that you have pointed out? And for the matter of food security and lands, the federal government haven't held back state governors from addressing this issue because state governors are in charge of land. So if they have the initiative to address the issues, of course, nobody is restricting them, don't you think?
Yeah, but the problem with the lands is the fact that the people that want to farm want to be safe. Nobody is going to send their children to the farm if they cannot guarantee the security of that child. So, and the security is not in the purview of the state governments right now. So they can't give them arms. They can't really come up with their own security infrastructure. They have to wait for Abuja, for the IGP to do anything that they want to do. And when you talk about even things about, state government, the way our public fund is being shared right now, also does not even incentivize, which is also a fault from the constitution, does not incentivize, economic development in the states, because they are all dependent on the federal government, which is why when the administration said they fought for local government autonomy, I just laughed, because are the state autonomous? So how can you, if the states are not autonomous, everybody is collecting money from federal government. My father cannot say because he stopped my older brother from collecting my pocket money that I am now autonomous. No, I am not, because I don't make my own money. But in places like the United States, the local governments make their own money. So it is when you make your money and you control your budget, that is when you can be said to have been autonomous. Because you can check.
Dr. Maridos, can you hear me?
All of them. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Great. So if you could just answer the second question I asked, is a new constitution the solution? Yes or no?
I will not say a new constitution, but specific changes to the current one. A new constitution will be too seismic, right? But specific changes to the current one, it is the solution, cumulatively.
Great.
Okay, so some of these changes, you actually mentioned the issue of security that we've been facing in this country, other issues with generalization, and then this has also riled up the agitation for secession, because those who are also looking for looking to leave this country. But then former governor of Jigawa State, Sule Lamido, and also Malam Tanko Yakasai and then former President Olusegun Obasanjo have actually said that what we need is actually not a new constitution, and the constitution that we have is actually okay, right? But how do you now respond to the fact that they argue that the problem has not been with the constitution, but the operators of the constitution? And that gives rise to the fact that some would say that even if you bring the angels from heaven to run the affairs of this country, they'll find the same problem. Or, I mean, yeah, they'll find the same problem that we're facing with our current leadership and the constitution that we have. How do you respond to this?
Well, the first thing that I'll say is that nobody can predict tomorrow, right? So we are just projecting. But the problems of this constitution exist in terms of the fact that the governors cannot control their security, the regions do not make their money. One who are agitating for secession is because of the central control of resources too, because they don't feel like they have the powers to determine their own future. So they are agitating. If the United States had a constitution like Nigeria, I can assure you the United States will not be united right now. It will be divided states of America, because people want to be the authors and finishers of their fate to a certain extent. So yes, you can talk about the implementing the constitution. You can talk about even the responsibilities of the citizens in holding their elected officials accountable. But if you were if you had more control, whereby local governments are making their own money, state governments are making their own money, and they are not improving the lives of their citizens, the citizens will be much more sensitized to vote them out, because they know they are in control. But right now, everybody feels a sense of statelessness in a certain way, because you know a lot of things happen in different regions. You cannot call anybody. All the power is in Abuja, and I think the fallacy of the federal government is that they think federal means ubiquitous, because they are not everywhere. They need to know that they need to devolve some powers to the subnationals and the local governments, so that this country can function efficiently. So anybody that is saying that, and you know, when you do all this constitutional reform, especially when it comes to, you know, the way they earn money and all, the North is going to even benefit more, because a lot of states in the South will be self-sufficient, and the federal government will be making more money from those states, and you don't have to give them any money. I mean, compared to the balance of money they spend, they invest in the state. So the poor states in the North will be the recipient states that the federal government can focus on. So yes, we are going to, I mean, the constitution will not stop corruption. These are things that we have to face, but there are salient problems right now that is, you know, debarring our progress as a people. And fixing this constitution is very essential in fixing it. I don't see a route to achieving all the lofty plans of this administration if the constitution is not rejigged, because especially security, you can kill a few bandits, but even before the banditry occurred, people have always been kidnapped in Nigeria. My auntie was ambushed in 98. My father was waylaid on the road, ambushed in around 2004. This was before Boko Haram. So, and all these things are because the people living within that community do not have the power to keep themselves safe. So in my house right now, I cannot expect the mayor of my county to control the security of my house. I will buy my lock. I'll put whatever camera I want to put there. And then if there's anything, we can now all work together to keep us safe. That is what the people are asking. And that is why I believe I watched an interview where His Royal Majesty Onifala said this thing specifically, that just the same way they restructured the constitution to allow states to be able to generate electricity, they can also restructure the constitution in ways to allow states to control their security too. And that would be a form of constitutional
Dr. Maridoti, do you not feel that this goes beyond you know, the issue of controlling resources and also security? Because if you look at Nigeria, the issue of pluralism is also another problem. You know, diversity, talk about tribes, talk about ethnicity, and then the division that we've experienced, especially since the conclusion of the general election in 2023, had actually caused a lot of, you know, issues among different ethnic, you know, ethnic groups in the country. Go to Yugoslavia and then Czechoslovakia. They actually, you know, disintegrated because of the inability to manage pluralism. So what do you think we can do, really? Do you think that new constitution can help us birth unity and stability that we crave for in this country?
Yes, because the only way you can manage plurality is to respect the plurality, not to assume that the people in the north are like people in the south. No, we are different. And the only way to achieve that is to allow everybody to have, a bit of cogent control over their future, over their destiny. One of the reasons why, there was so much division is because there's too much power centralized in, placed in the center. So everybody in the country feels the only way to get power is to get to Abuja, because the governors are essentially being spoon-fed by the federal government, who also spoon-feeds the local government. So if you want to really control, you have to be at the center. And that is one of the reasons that that is causing, division in a place like the United States, which we try to model our constitution after. They are very pluralistic too, even much more than Nigeria. But the different zones, different states have their own constitution. They are controlling their own destiny. So there is no undue pressure or undue need to go to the center. You can be a mayor of your town and you will make things happen for your people. They will love you, and that's it. So these are the reasons why all these problems that we have, can be traced back to this weak constitution that we have. And I have seen the president make excuses for, not starting constitutional review because of the economic challenges. So my question to the president would be, what are the economic parameters that he is waiting for, so that we can know that when we get to maybe 30% inflation, that's when we are going to start constitutional review. Because to me, it's reducing my confidence in the president's appetite for restructuring. And this restructuring is very essential. That is the only way we will gain local government autonomy, and the people will feel the impact of government in their locality, because they will have an incentive to keep themselves safe and bring businesses so that they can tax those businesses and make money that they will use to better their lives. And if the local government officials,
so that we can make good use of our time,
at that local level.
Dr. Marindoti, we have limited time, so I would like to quickly address some issues as much as possible. Now, let's look at how prepared these state governors are for these matters of restructuring that we have been talking about. Recall that the president gave a nod to the matters of state police and also local government autonomy, but we saw the body language of some of these governors. Some of them were asked to send in some documents with regards to their position on the matter of state policing, and only a few sent that document. And that sent some signals to some Nigerians as to if these people really and genuinely want to be part of the process of restructuring that you are talking about and addressing the security matters. Are they ready to take responsibility? And then the matter of local government autonomy, we saw what happened. They also challenged that, even though at the end of the day we see what the Supreme Court did. But that conversation is still on, as they are saying that there are some other structures that need to be put in place for these matters to be stabilized, and then we achieve the results that we need at the end of the day. So do you think that these state governors are really ready to take up responsibility if given to them?
I mean, trust me, I don't think I would say I have confidence in majority of state governors, readiness for, restructuring. But then you have to sell it to them, because that is how you are going to, have to move this country forward. And I feel like, yes, in terms of local government autonomy, I don't still believe local governments are autonomous. They don't make their money. So they still get spoon-fed from the federal government. So they are not autonomous. The only way they can be autonomous is to restructure. And I will say that the president can take a leaf off of Abraham Lincoln. When he was going to free the slaves, he did it as a war expediency that was going to benefit the war and prevent Europe from getting in. And that benefited him. When he was going to abolish slavery in all across the United States, he did it even though he could have waited for the new election, because he had won a re-election with majority in the legislative arm of government. He did it immediately. He didn't wait. And guess what? 3 months after that was when he was killed. So, selling this thing as a security and economic imperative will help the federal government to change the acts of these state governments who, sometimes some people don't want to rock a boat when they are enjoying it. They don't know what is coming and they don't want to take the leap. But you can sell it to them that now I am giving you the power to keep your people secure and arm your own security agencies and give them the framework from which to do it. You can train a policeman within 3 to 6 months, and then you'll be able to go out and protect your people, and then allow them to make their money so that they can fund all these activities. So yes, they may not be willing to, because not everybody has thought about it. I mean, it's not everybody that is in power right now that has any form of a vision or dream before getting there. So, but you have to sell it to them because you need them to buy into it. And selling it as an economic and a security imperative is a very potent way to get the state governors to buy into these ideas. A lot of them don't look like people with ideas. I know that, my governor in my state is ready for restructuring. And that's why a lot of the elders from my state and everybody have been trying to push the president. And I feel like we that will support him, we should also try to improve this, pressure on the president to please start this process, because it's going to take a while, so that we are not stuck in a Frodo at the Mount Doom, at the fires of Mount Doom situation, whereby instead of destroying the ring of power, he put it on. So we need to keep on, because it is a very difficult thing to ask someone to reduce their power, because that is what is going to happen when you restructure Nigeria. The power at the center will be dissipated, and it is very difficult to ask a human being to reduce their own power. So we need to keep our supplications and our pleas and our advocacy, so that we can start this process, because this is in my own opinion, and I know I am flawed, but in my own opinion, this is the only way to the economic emancipation. You cannot build a skyscraper on a quicksand, it will sink. So you need to get that foundation right. You cannot fix economy if you don't fix the political problem, because the political problem is what is causing the economic problems. So you have to fix that, otherwise you'll just be treating the symptoms and not the problem.
So where do you situate the concerns that some persons have raised with regards to the matter of state security, talking about state police rather, where they are saying that some governors might use them as tools against their opposition?
Thank you very much. The state police will have an head, a leader, chief police officer, who is going to be bound by oath to follow the law and the constitution. So any unconstitutional act can be investigated by the Federal Ministry of Justice. When George Floyd was murdered in Minneapolis, the Department of Justice went in and investigated the Minneapolis Police Department, and they were fine, and the things that were done. So their chief is not going to have any form of immunity. They can easily be prosecuted. They can easily be changed, and they would also have a standing order not to follow an illegal order. And there are ways by which these laws can be crafted that will insulate them from political influence, whereby the governor cannot tell you to go and investigate or arrest someone. Otherwise, it will be, and this whole restructuring thing is not even just about the policing. It's also about the lawyers who are going to be prosecuting all those things, because the attorney generals are really the ones in charge of policing and security, because they are the ones that will bring the case. And the people will know who they are supporting. Like in the United States, in a lot of places, they even vote for their head of police and they vote for their attorney general, who is in the states, and even in the local government, who is going to be the ones prosecuting all these crimes and keeping them safe. So there are ways to have all these things. It operates in different places in the world. So that is not going to be a problem when the political appetite for restructuring and devolving security power to the states comes.
In seeking a new constitution, or probably the one that we have, several amendments have been made to it, but those who argue for and those who argue against, others actually believe that Nigeria has two options in getting a truly federal constitution by either adopting the 2014 confab, the national confab. Others criticized it, and then we have the report, which has been lying fallow right there in any of the shelves in Aso Rock, or rather go for a relatively inexpensive, directly elected Constituent Assembly on a non-party basis for producing a widely desired constitution for Nigerians. I don't know where you stand here.
I believe those both propositions is going to violate the constitution under which this country currently operates. And if you want to change a system, you have to go through that system to change that system. So the only way you can really change the constitution is the way the constitution has said it in the two-thirds of the legislatures and then two-thirds of the states. So those are the things that need to be done. If you try to, say you want to just, the vacuum is not going to me, in my own opinion, it will not make a lot of sense. There are definitely suggestions in the confab report that can be adopted by the House of Rep and Senate members and can be reviewed, pushed by the administration. But you cannot just adopt it and say you want to abandon this constitution. Even if we are going to change every single word in the constitution, we have to still go through the prescription of this current constitution right now. So that is my own opinion about that. I don't think both ways will work. I think we still have to work with our national assemblies.
All right, Dr. Marindoti, let's quickly put you on hold. We need to go for a quick break. When we return, we'll continue this conversation with you. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. Before we went on the break, we were speaking about the call for a constitutional overhaul. Although there are those who are saying that the 1999 Constitution as amended should also be reviewed. But we have been speaking with Dr. Oludare Marindoti, convener of Social Rehabilitation, Grace and Support Initiative. As we coast home now, Dr. Marindoti, the matter of Nigerians believing the process of reviewing the Constitution is a matter. You have said that all we need to do is to review this current Constitution, if I get you correctly. But all the processes that have gone on, a majority of Nigerians do not trust or believe in the process of the reviewing. So how much difference would it make, and if the people do not believe in whatever amendment is being made?
Well, to me, it is all about marketing. If you, as a medical doctor, there are very few patients that you will tell, you need a surgery, and they will just say, yes, let's go. You have to explain it to them. So if you market it to the people, you let them feel involved. You take, feel
involved or be involved.
We live in a world where perception is reality. So they need to feel involved. In my generation right now, we need to feel more than we need to be. So we need to make them feel involved. Have all the local governments, House of Rep, go back to their constituents, constituencies and the national assemblies, and let them have these talks and go back to Abuja with all the, that feeling. Have a marketing, what's it called, different referendum, different, TV media, whatever. You have to market it. You have to sell it like you are selling any product on TV. You have to sell it to the people so that they can buy into it. The thing is, because people do not feel like their opinions matter. It is like the way they changed the national anthem. I kind of feel like they also didn't feel like my opinion mattered, because 80% of Nigerians were not born when we last sang it, and they didn't care to market it to us. So even though the anthem might have had some good things in it, a lot of people don't see it. So the marketing is the most important thing. You have to sell it to the people, make them feel like they matter in it, and then they will buy in, they will drop advice. Everybody knows advices don't always necessarily get taken. But we have to, this is what we are doing right now, and it will help us prevent any form of, unrest or whatever. It will take deflect our attention. It will give us something to look forward to, something to feel like we're a part of. And then everybody can say that, yes, we all came together and wrote this constitution, because we have multiple town hall meetings at your town. If you can't meet this month, 6-month period of town hall meetings where people are taking, ideas, the House of Rep members, senators, governors, House of Assembly members, all of them are a part of it. And they are dropping proposals. In that way, you have started a national movement. So by the time it culminates in alterations to the constitution, the people will feel like they own it. They will take ownership of it. And that is the most important thing. You can't shove it on the people. You have to make them take ownership of it. So the administration needs to learn more about marketing. So that my generation, which consists of over 80% of the people in this country, my generation and below, can buy into it and feel like their voices were heard.
Yeah.
Not everybody is going to be satisfied.
Yeah, Dr. Marindosi, can you hear me?
To satisfy enough.
Yes, because of our time. Yeah, so we've actually had different manifestations of these, because anytime a bill is being introduced, at the floor of the National Assembly, we always have this town hall meeting. They have consultations, they have conversations, and all of that. I mentioned the issue of 2014 Confab reports and all of that, and we've been having this conversation several times. But the group, the Patriots, told the president that after economic reforms, then the president should now focus. You also alluded to that fact that the president should now focus on the political reform of the country, which includes, giving us a brand new constitution. But how long will this economic reform take? Because we are having this crisis, food crisis, etc., and all of the attendance issues, stemming out from the removal of fuel subsidy, etc. So how long would it take for us to now sit down and say, okay, done, we are good with the economic reforms. How about the political reforms? Do you think there is enough lifespan for this administration to delve into this matter?
Yes. The whole issue about economic reform is very nebulous to me. Like I said, what are the parameters? I feel like wanting to wait for economic reforms before we do the political reform is like a pediatrician who is treating anemia when the patient has malaria. And when you tell him to treat malaria, I said anemia is more important. But it is the malaria that is causing the anemia. So you have to treat the cause. It is the political problem that is largely responsible for a lot of our economic problems, or at least preventing us from rising above it. So we cannot say that because there is no parameter that the president can say, yes, this is what I am waiting for, and this is the timeline with which I am waiting to get to this place before I can start political reform, especially when the failure to address the political problems will keep on impeding progresses that should have been made on the economic front. So we cannot afford to wait until the economic problems that is going to be perennial gets resolved. We still need to boost people's productivity. We still need to educate our people. There are a lot of things. Infrastructure will not finish in a day. So there are a lot of things that need to be done over a long time. The political problem is an impediment to our progress, and we need to yank it off by starting this process and marketing it. It is, if I am selling Google and I don't sell, it is my responsibility. I'm the one that failed to market my Google. So if the government wants to do restructuring and the people seem not to be paying attention, it is not the problem of the people, it's the problem of the government. They are the ones that are not doing enough, and so they should do more. They should take responsibility and do more to ensure that everybody is carried along. This, what's it called, constitutional reform is the elephant in the room. You cannot put this baby in the corner. The baby will be crying. You have to give it attention. So there is no way we are going to get out of our economic problems, in my own opinion, under this current constitution. Because everybody that is supposed to help, all hands that should be on deck, they are saying, hey, that's why you even see, like Veronica said the other time, some governors don't even want to engage because they don't want, they see the economic problem right now as a problem of Bola Tinubu. So if you now restructure, then that means people in my state should start blaming me. They don't want that responsibility. And we have to let them know it is your responsibility. You have to take it. You have to ensure that you educate your people so that you build human capital that will turn into economic prosperity for your people.
All right. We'll have to leave the conversation here now. Dr. Oludare Marindoti, convener of Social Rehabilitation, Grace and Support Initiative. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Still ahead on TVC Breakfast, reactions have